So there are many types of meditation. There's not one. There are many ways into this practice. So I came into it through Vedic, TM. I also did Vipassana, silent meditation retreat. Some people will find they do really well with a mantra practice. Well, Vedic meditation actually is a mantra practice, where you're given a mantra to kind of listen for. Some people will do devotional meditation with chanting, right? I think many of us have done guided meditations that are more from the heart space. Practices like, loving kindness, compassion, metta. Metta, M-E-T-T-A, is a practice of loving kindness for others. So here's what I find to be really interesting. With mindfulness, there are two components. And this is what will separate, in a sense, not separate, but I would say make it unique to as a meditation practice. In the Pali and Sanskrit teachings, and Pali is an ancient language where we've learned these practices, they describe the two components, first one being receptivity. So when we have a mindful practice, there's a sense of being receptive. You might even feel what that word makes you feel like when I say it. Spacious, kind. When we're receptive, there's a non-judging awareness of the present moment. And I think that's what I had thought mindfulness was. The second part is action. There's an active component to mindfulness. And this is why I think it's so incredible, because it becomes really, really a part of the fabric of our lives and how we walk through the world. So the active part is having an appropriate response to the present moment. That may or may not always happen. And so we practice. So we come to the mat and we meditate and we practice this so that we can start to see how our mind works, how our impulses work, and we can feel how our impulses work. So I described this series as the power of the pause. And because in that moment, as we develop, I'm receiving this, I can see this happening, I want to send this email, I want to say this, I want to have this energy, all of this accumulation of energy is in me. We may now have an opportunity on the cushion, right, when we sit, to have a new way where I'm going to be, in the coming weeks of this, asking you to experience what is that reactivity? What is that? And can we experience it as a practice so that when we get off the mat and we're in real life, we have more instinct, more developed skill to manage that. So if you hopped off for a second and you're just back, I just want to reiterate and just repeat that. That's totally fine, because it is one of the sort of essential things that I think is interesting and good to repeat, is what I'm finding to be the difference between mindfulness and meditation, or not the difference, but the sort of qualifier, is that there are two components. So the first one is being receptive, that we have this sense of spaciousness we're cultivating, sort of a kind, non-judging awareness of the here and now, which is basically, how is my mind working today? Oh, terribly. It's a bad neighborhood right now, but we have awareness of it. The second part, which I think qualifies it as a more unique, or a unique practice of meditation, is it's active. So that from there we have, or we start to cultivate an appropriate response to what is happening. in the present moment. All right, and then I talked about how that could be the pause, taking a pause. We're not always going to do this perfectly. I can attest to that. Not always doing it perfectly, and then aware that I'm not doing it perfectly. All right, so if you think of meditation as we're sitting in the seat, and it's like sometimes we'll sit and just, okay, my eyes are closed, so I'm meditating. The one tool I just want to bring in here early on, and many of you probably already have it, and even if we have it, we lose it, okay, is it's not just closing my eyes and with the thoughts, because what could happen is then I'm just in the thoughts and the story and the planning, and I spend the whole 20 minutes planning and retaliating and winning or whatever the mind is doing that day. I want to try to be aware, like sitting and having, there can be moments where we see ourselves doing that. We see the mind doing that. This is the loving awareness. And one of the analogies I thought of was, if a kid came up to me and said, someone's been picking on me at school, I would have full focus, full awareness. I wouldn't be the kid. I'm not the kid who was picked on. I'm aware of what's happening, and I'm fully present with it in a loving, kind way. So when I sit, and there's a part of me like that is just like, oh, yeah, you're really hard on yourself today, but not judging it. It's just aware, like, oh, mind is working like this today. Mind is really not so kind right now, but I'm aware of that. So we can, it's not that it's not that we will always be, oh, I'm kind and I feel great. That's just not going to happen for most of us. We will start to cultivate a more loving awareness with that. And in this process, I truly believe we start loving ourselves more. It's an experience. It's kid got bullied at school. You lovingly listen and hold space with that child. And then you go beat up the person who picked on him. I don't know what you do. You pause and you have a mindful, response to it. Okay, so if we're sitting, meditating, how do we do that with all of the chaos? All of the chaos in the brain. And so I brought in this mala. Do you know these necklaces? These mala beads? My friend Yotam gave this to me from India. They're so beautiful. And they're prayer beads, and they can be meditation beads. And you could use this as a meditation tool. That's not why I'm bringing it up. I just want to give you an illustration of what the meditation can be like. On the days when it's super busy, it's a bad neighborhood, storms are coming through, it's kind of like I'm trying to hold this mala in one hand. And I'm trying to hold it, and I can't get all the beads. I can't get all the beads, and I'm in that story, and I'm gripping that story, and I for sure can't get any more beads. If I grip that tight, I can't reach down and get another one because my hand's I'm hooked in. That story's got me. I am so right in that story. I'm not going to unclench and get the other beads, so I don't have all my beads. And these beads represent all of the good things in my life. I want these things, but I'm so gripped. I can't get all the goodness in my life. So just hooked. And if I could shift my perspective, pause, I might realize that if I just hold my hand like this, I can hold it. I can hold all the good in my life. I can hold all the challenging things. This is a tough angle for me, but do you see what I'm saying? Like, meditation is going to be a time when we are holding all of it. We are going to hold the joy. We're going to hold the grief. We're going to hold the tension. We're going to hold the way we judge ourselves and others. And we will mindfully, hopefully over time, develop a deeper capacity to have that sense of this too, with a sense of kindness, even. So this too is going to be part of the guided meditation today. This too is, I learned from Tara Brach, who is one of my teachers. And this too is when we meditate and we're having thoughts, or we're in life and we're having experience. Can this too be? Can I sit with this too? This too. This too. We don't. So in meditation, it's less about. We're not pushing things away. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with anyone for having a lot of thoughts and that never stop and that are terrible sometimes. This is just being human. So why is it important to have a loving kindness? And does that word for anyone like, some people like, It's okay. Okay. So if your feet are on the floor, you can also feel the feet on the floor. If you're sitting cross-legged, just feel how that feels in the body. Your eyes might still be open. We're going to take a deep breath in and hold it in. Try to relax your shoulders. And exhale, the breath goes out. You might notice your palms. See if you can notice the way that the hands rest. And inside of your hands, see if you can sense the bones of the hands, the tissue of the palms, the blood, all of the space inside the hands. So the breath will be the charming thing, and all you need to notice is the inhale coming in through the nose, filling the body. You might feel it fill up. And the exhale moving out, you might notice the breath is a little bit warmer as it leaves the nostrils. And this will be our physical anchor today. So we notice the breath as this too. This is happening too. Again, the nostrils, you might notice the feeling or lack of feeling. your eyes. See if you can let the eyelids just relax a little bit and the eyeballs steady. And as thoughts come in, the stream, different weather systems of the mind, just maybe gently have this mantra of this too. So we don't have to hang on so tight to it. If it's challenging to stay with the breath and you want to just maybe anchor with your hands, that works. Notice if your eyes can steady now. This too. If you're following the breath, you might focus your awareness right where the breath comes into the nostrils, above the upper lip, and see if you have any sensation there at all. might be moving. This too. Gently be charmed, if you can, by your breath. Notice if your breath is in your chest, quiet, or if it wants to be deep. And can you allow the eyes to rest? And steady. So you have clear seeing, gentle clear seeing of what the mind is doing. Now return your focus to your hands, where we began. Notice sensation of temperature or tension, tightness, vibration, dryness, moist. Anything in the hands, the wrist. Are the fingers spread evenly, or some of the fingers closer to each other? Are they gripped? See if you can invite a really gentler, kinder lens, seeing yourself sitting for a moment. your palms together to prayer, slowly. And let the palms be eyes closed, palms barely touching, like not quite touching, sensing that potential energy. The electricity there. Or maybe it feels a little numb, that's okay. And when they touch, see if they evenly find each other. Or is it a little off, and then you just realign it. We're going to create what's called a silent Om. So we just breathe in, and then when we exhale, we'll imagine and almost sense the sound of Om on the exhale without making it the sound out loud. Breathe in with me. And silent Om. Namaste. Okay. Take a moment to get the eyes opening and take in the room. Take a deep breath. Deep breath out. So we have a few minutes for reflecting back. I'll try to time it better to have more time after. I had a longer upfront talk today, but I want to suggest, and then I'll have you comment just in case anyone has to hop off exactly on time, that this week